see if I could remember enough to run him down. So I'm just gonna give my brief synopsis from what I recall, and let me know if I'm being an idiot about it. Ryu, better if you trigger one. That's nice. Gives him way better fireballs than that. Finally, they gave him better fireballs, at least in V trigger, if nothing else, without sort of depleting the timer all the way. That's nice. I appreciate that. There's that side of him I think is better. He got some combo stuff that leads to knockdown pressure better, which is nice. And he gets over fireballs a little bit better to the extent that mattered. I think he's improved. I wouldn't expect it to be like enough to make him one of the better characters in the game. But yeah, he's improved. There you go. Chun Li, I think, is really good. She seems really strong to me. I like the buffs to some of her normals and mid-range stuff. I like the fact that crouching medium kick is more hit confirmable and goes into roundhouse legs, which knocks down now and she gets pressure out of, so she gets more practical pressure situations, which is great. I think that she's really like, I mean, she was already pretty good, right? Already a good character and buffed, so yeah, legit. I feel like her old V skill is probably the better way to go though. So. Nash. Yeah, Nash is a little bit better. The new V skill making the slashes a little bit more important, I think, is nice. I don't know that I'm not sure that that's like enough, I guess. There was other stuff too. Now I don't remember. So let's see if I can jog the old memory here. He got some increase the cancel window timing by 3. Okay, so he's got a little bit more of a hit confirmable strong, I guess. Yeah, overhead is worse like everybody else's though. Sonic Boom does more damage. That's right. Scythe's got a little bit buffed. You know, this is a character who I think was struggling. One of the weaker characters in the game for sure. And I don't see much about the changes that I feel really help solve those problems. I still kind of feel like I don't need to be too concerned against Nash. Like whether he's on offense or if he's on defense. If the opponent's just better than me, then they'll outplay me, okay, but I just don't see much that's like frightening about him. Dictator. He's still very good. He got some slight nerfs, but it's really not that big of a deal. He's like already, like, don't whiff his buttons. You already shouldn't have been doing that. Like, it's easy not to. They're so big. So that's fine. His V skill too, I think, is maybe situationally strong. It really depends probably on the matchup. So if you're up against a character who likes to do things at full screen that are reactable, then go for it. Like, I think that's a great way to shut down characters who have stored V skills, right? So many characters in this game will now have stored V skills that they need to spend some time to get up. It's much more common now. It used to just be a couple. Now it's much more common. And they'd all like to just do it. But Bison, with his teleport, has a really easy way to stop that. And so the opponents are going to be limited to just when they have knockdown pressure, or knockdown frames. And I bet even in some situations that won't work because of the wake up teleport. I bet that will still shut down some of the options people would like to use to charge up their V skill 2s. So I think that's nice, but I think that's probably situational. Anyway, overall, I think that Bison is still really good. Cammy got a little bit better. Some juggles are there that weren't there before. Her V skill 2, I have heard very conflicting things about. This morning, I saw a tweet from a player who's pretty good, saying that he thinks that her V skill 2 is really good. That because it hops over lows, it can crush counter, it's unthrowable after a little bit, and he thinks that that's really strong. So okay. That'd be great if she has something like that. She's still a good character. Birdie, I feel like, is one of the biggest losers, unfortunately. He was considered to be one of the best by some in Season 4, which I never quite believed. I thought he was good, but not one of the best. And they nerfed him substantially in anti-air, in normals, in footsies. His V skill 2, I think, is very underwhelming. It has a cool idea, but not the execution of it, I think, is far too restrictive to make it actually useful. So Birdie, I think, is one of the characters who's gonna fall the hardest. He's not gonna suck, right? Like, so this is not a game where anybody sucks, but within the context of SF5 Season 5, he might be on the lower end of things now. You got Ken. Ken, I think, is looking pretty good. They made some changes to the way that his, some very important combo and frame trap tools work, like crouching strong and back strong into back strong fierce. That stuff should be more reliable now, which is important. I'm sure it's not 100%, but better than before. And his V skill too, I've seen people use really, really, really well, like scarily well. Like, it really can shut down the opponent's movement. It's hard to sort of jump forward through it. It's hard to press buttons in his face. He can make you block it from, like, it's his farthest tool, right? So he can force the situation much better, I think, with it, which is nice. So he seems good to me. Necalli got some buffs. Right, more damage on some stuff. So crush counter fierce now will actually create crumple knockdown, so you get more. I think there's a little bit more to it too, right? Oh yeah, EX stomps are now +2, right? And he's got the crawler V skill, which seems like there's some cool setups with that. So I think Necalli got nicer. That's good. By the way, I thought he was one of the better characters in the game. I thought he was top 10 for sure. So they buffed him a little bit. That's nice. That's nice. Vega. Some people say that they think Vega got really good. I think that he improved. I don't think that Vega improved so much that, you should go back to him if you haven't been playing him. I feel like he got buffed, but not in a way that's like gonna kill anybody. So he has invincibility and V skill 2, which can be nice. He gets new combo routes. He has the new punch dive, which allows him to do some cool stuff. The way that V-Trigger 1 now works, where you can get plus frames out of it. That's all good. Like, those are better. And at least, I like the V-Trigger change because it allows him to force a situation. I feel like he's bad at that. So he has that now. He can sort of spend his trigger to create a plus frame situation from far, which is nice. So he's better. I am just not convinced that he's a lot better, but he's certainly better. Mika is the same. End of sentence. Almost. She got like one buff and one slight nerf, and that's fine, right? She doesn't really need that much in terms of difference. Her V skill 2, I think, is maybe useful in some matchups. I guess we'll see, but I could see that being useful in some matchups. The parry. Just really depends. Rashid is the best character in the game. He was the best character in the game. IMO in Season 4. I thought he was number 1 already. Dude got buffed. He's better. And it's not just that V skill 2 is the float that lets you do wild and crazy movement. It's not just that. It's that crouching strong is like a new good button. Like, they buffed it, right? It forces stand. They reduced the startup so it's linkable. You can link into it normally now. They did make some nerfs to him here and there. So increase the pushback distance on block of crouching short. Now you have to do medium punch mixer level 2 instead of level 3 to get Oki afterward. These are things that are just not problems. So Rashid, I think, is the number 1 character in the game. Karin. It's good that the way that they changed her for the most part preserves most of what she wants to do. I like that. So the nerfs instead primarily are about doing less stun and having no more throw loop in the corner. But that's okay. She still does great damage. Her stun is still legit. And after a throw in the corner, she can still press immediate crouching medium kick or stand fierce and blow up anything that you want to do. So it's not like she has lost positioning completely there. So I feel like her corner situation now is going to be like how Cammy is, where it's not technically a throw loop, but you are getting tossed for sure a lot. So I think she's still really strong. Right, some of her frame traps are a little bit worse, but the core of the character, which is excellent footsies and hit confirmability into big damage, absolutely still there. So I still think that she's good. Geef. I think Geef is better. Geef's improved. Geef is a character that is was good. I would say he was mid tier. I would say he's mid. In tournament play, I would say he was mid high, because the characters that he happened to do well against were some of the best characters in the game, right? So like Akuma and Bison and Dictator and I don't know, a couple other characters were good matchups for him. And so he was like important, but he also had really bad matchups, some of the worst in the game. So very polarizing. And what I like about V skill 2 for him, which is his most significant change, is that it allows him to deal with people who zone him out better. So his V skill 2, I think, is definitely underrated right now.
Now, find a new rival.
Thanks. His V skill 2 allows him to focus dash through or focus dash back from single hitting things. So like a Dhalsim limb, a Menat limb, a poison whip, an Abigail limb, like these things that caused him problems, he can now solve. Or he could do armor into kick, and that actually punishes some of those buttons depending on the timing. So that's now his farthest attack, is the V skill 2 follow-up kick. And I like that a lot. I think it's really cool. So I like it. I'm looking forward to using it personally. Laura, I think, is probably the biggest individual up-and-comer in this game. She got helped for sure. She was already good enough to win Capcom Cup, although, of course, you know, nobody would tell you that she was top tier. She was, you know, just a mid-tier character, right? And Idom is one of the best players in the world, so he managed to use her to take it. Incredible play. Nobody else was doing that stuff with her. So I understand why they would buff her, for sure. But I do think that maybe they did a little bit too much. I think that they might have thought that she was a little weaker than she actually was. So I'm looking forward to Laura being one of the best characters in the game in Season 5. I think she's very, very strong. Dhalsim is hard to get my mind around so far. I would say that the perceptions of him differ drastically from different people. I know many Dhalsim players are a little disappointed. They wanted more than he got, and they think that his changes are not changes that help Dhalsim in what Dhalsim really wants to do. Like, they're essentially movement changes. So now he can do things like anti-air into V-skill float. Now he can do any button in the sky into V-trigger 2 activation, into the V-trigger 2 fireball. That's good, right? So extra movement. But from my conversations with them, they feel like that's not what he needed. It just is not the thing that was required. He still whiffs and combos sometimes. They think the V skill 2 is maybe good, but maybe at its best in matchups that Dhalsim already won, even without the V skill 2 fireball charge. So yeah, I guess we'll have to see on that. I think this is a character that I think probably has the biggest divergence of how people think about him. Like I said earlier, some people in SoCal think that he's top 10 in Season 4. Whereas Dhalsim players think he's absolutely bottom 10. So, we'll see how it plays out for him. Fang. Fang got better. So I think the most important thing for Fang, I feel, is that he has a parry in V-Skill 2. That's a 3-frame startup. So now in situations where Fang got bullied, he can finally do a 3-frame thing. And what they did was make it a parry so that it's not like he has a 3-frame button that he converts things from, but he can still like enforce his will, right? So if he thinks that you're going to press a button in a situation, he can now actually blow it up. So for example, after his stand roundhouse, super important tool for him, but he's only +1, and because his fastest button is 4 and his fastest like good button is 5, he got bullied after stand roundhouse by some characters. So now he can blow that up with a V-skill parry. So there are situations in both his own frame traps and defending where he can now get out, and I think that is nice. It's definitely a big bet, right? It's not going to happen very often, but it's something that he can do, and I think that is important. So he's better. Again, I don't really think that he got better in a way that solves all of his biggest problems, but better, and that's nice. Alex. I think I kind of have the same summation as Fang. He's better. They buffed him a little bit. Normals are a little bit better. His combos out of forward fierce are stronger. Like, he's got stuff. But his V skill 2 is definitely a disappointing V skill. The charge, and then you can cancel a special into the special, because they restricted it too much. So you cannot cancel into a command grab. You cannot cancel a special into a stun gun headbutt. You cannot cancel in a way that combos, except in a few situations. And so they really like tightly restricted what you could do with that. So what could have been a really creative V skill instead is really just limited, and that's a bummer. In addition, it goes away on hit, whereas V skill 1 for him no longer does. So I feel like V skill 1's the way to go. I think he's better too, but he's just... And by the way, I didn't think that he was bad before. I thought he was underrated. But I think he probably did need more than he got. Guile. Oh, Guile's a big winner, I feel Guile's a big winner. What was it? Other than V skill 2, which I think is probably the biggest deal, what was the other stuff? Right, so increased frame data a little bit, so crouching medium kick into target chain is a little bit better.
Now, find a new rival.
H somersault kick lets him hit through projectiles a little bit better. These are not like big changes. Instead, the biggest change to Guile is that his V skill 2 is awesome. It's so good to have a half screen moving forward projectile that is plus on hit even from point blank, that allows him to keep charge, that goes over fireballs, right? There's all these things about it that I think are so good. So that alone, to me, I feel vaults Guile higher than he was. Dang, it's so good. I probably still would not say that I think Guile's top tier. Or, well, maybe that I don't think he's top 5. Could be. But I'm not prepared to say that for sure right now. Ibuki is, I would say, basically the same. Like, some things are a little bit worse, but right, I think they're only worse in ways that you shouldn't have been doing anyway. Yeah, right. So her target chain, right, one of them got worse on hit and block, but you already weren't doing that, right? You weren't just letting it whiff on hit. You were canceling into something, and you didn't do it on block because you're trying to hit confirm it. Her V-Trigger 2 activation is now punishable. It's -4 point blank. So don't do it randomly, right? You already should have been hit confirming it. Now definitely make sure you hit confirm it. Those are just things that like you should have done already. Now the game just forces you to. So I think that's fine for me. Her V skill 1, they say that it reduced the hurt box. That it no longer pulls back the hurt box. We'll see. They've said that in seasons before, so we'll see if that's true. But I'd say the nerf really is the EX Kunai, EX Airborne Kunai. A little bit worse. Still good. By the way, she still gets a dash afterwards. Still good. Just not quite as plus. And then she has V skill 1, which I think is oh boy, it could be one of the better ones. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Ibuki's come up with. I've already seen some of the tech, and there's some stuff there that beats 3-frame buttons that I think is looking pretty legit. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really good for her. So in conclusion, I feel like Ibuki is still one of the better characters in the game. Boxer is also improved. What's nice about the way that they did his V skill 2 is that it's really well targeted to play against characters that he had trouble with before. So characters who could armor through dash punch, characters who were harder to get started on. He can now have this charged up V skill dash punch that allows him to do dash punch without needing charge. It's just back forward punch, and that's +2 on block, and that knocks down on hit, so he's in there. So I think that's really strong. So for example, like that's what you would use against Zangief now, because Zangief would before try to flex and punish Boxer's dash punches. Well, you cannot flex that V skill dash punch now. It's 3 hits, it'll blow it up. So I really like that. I think that's improved. They improved V-Trigger 2 as well, so hopefully that'll be a little bit more of a legit option if you're trying to get people stunned down and have the extra mix-up. Juri. I think whoever's in charge of balancing Juri just thinks that she's better than she is. I would say that I think that she was underrated as well. I don't think she was terrible. Not at all. I think she was all right, but I do also think that she could use help to get up to where other characters are. And I don't remember feeling she got that. Oh yeah, it was basically like quality of life stuff. Like some of her combos now work better or work. Like she got some new routes. Some are just a little less finicky. She can activate a little bit more easily into the Fuhajin or Fuha Renkyaku, whatever. That's nice. Her V skill 2, it seems like it may be useful in combos, and there are some setups in it, although how practical they are, I don't know. So a little bit improved. I wouldn't say by a lot, but improved. Urien. I thought Urien was top 10, so I didn't feel like he needed a lot, and they didn't give him a lot. So I think that's very nicely done. His V skill 2, the fireball that it charges up, will probably mean better pressure for him, will mean better zoning for him. So I like that because it's not something that just comes baked into the character. You have to activate it, so it's not just always there. Because if they had just done that always, it would have, he wouldn't have needed that. But now if you can find the time, then you can set this stuff up, and I like that. I think that's pretty cool. At the same time, there still might be some matchups where you want to have the armor or V-skill instead. So yeah, Urien, good character. They tried to buff V-Trigger too. You're probably still going to use Aegis instead. But good. Definitely still good. Akuma. Akuma is... I feel like it's either him or Birdie who got the most nerfed. And Akuma started out from definitely a better position than Birdie did. So his situation is still good. It's still good. I still think he's the best Shoto, for example. So if that's the kind of archetype that you like, I think he's your best pick. A little bit more whiff punishable in footsies. Some of the more exploitative stuff he had, like being able to whiff cancel a fireball into V-trigger activation, that's gone. So some of the stuff that sort of put him on top of other characters, ability to do longer frame trap block strings than most other characters, that's not really there anymore. But the fundamentals of the character are all there.
Now, find a new rival.
So like he still has great walk speed, great whiff punishing buttons, big damage in trigger, just good damage in pressure normally. Still has good fireballs, right? Like they changed the air fireball trajectory a little bit, but not in the way that killed it, just in the way that makes you have to use it a little bit differently. I still think Akuma is good. The one thing about him I would say is that, or one other thing I would say, is that whereas most characters got health buffs and stun buffs, Akuma did not. So most characters got 25 health and 50 more stun. And in the context of, Akuma having 900 health, some other characters already having 1050 health, that doesn't sound like it's a lot, but that actually can come into play in some situations. I mean, I've seen it many, many times that the difference of 25 health is the difference between whether a round ends or not. And Akuma now has 900. Well, he did already, but right, other characters now have 925 health and stun. So he's still on the lowest end. And so although that's not an explicit nerf for him, it's kind of nerf by not getting the buff, if you see what I mean. Kolin, I think, is very scary in Season 5. They made her buttons a little bit more whiff punishable, but that's okay. I mean, those are more for whiff punishing anyway, so you probably shouldn't be sticking them out all the time. That just wasn't really their usage. So Kolin, still great in footsies, and her V skill being that command grab, that causes freeze, that makes it so that your stun bar doesn't go down until you hit her. That is one of the best in the game. Extremely dangerous, scary V-skill. Scary V-skill, I think. So Kolin was already one of the better characters in the game. I would say she got overall help. Am I missing anything important here? I think that's about it. Oh yeah, she actually got a couple of buffs, that's right. Although I don't know that those are super important, because they tried to buff V-Trigger 1. I guess we'll see if anybody does that. Probably still play V-Trigger 2. But yeah, I think that she's really, really good. I think she's scary. Command grab on Kolin, oh my gosh. Ed got helped. Ed is another one of maybe the most improved But whereas I said Laura's maybe the most improved, she went from like mid tier to top tier or thereabouts, right? Whereas Ed went from probably bottom 3-ish to, I don't know, mid-high tier. So I don't think it's the case that he got rocketed to the moon or anything, but he did get help. So the biggest issues for him of moves, just like whiffing a lot and specials being too far to cancel into and yada yada, not being able to create pressure, those are fixed. So now Flicker is safe on block and it moves forward, so you don't have to worry about whiff as much. Same with the upper. That got buffed. So it's like fundamental sort of stuff that are definitely helping. Definitely, he needed help and he got help. And I think the help that he got was really, really well targeted, because it's not help that makes him instantly one of the best characters in the game. It's not like it's wild stuff. It's like fundamentally important sound stuff. So I'm happy for Ed players. I think that's really nice. Abigail got some buffs. He now can create some more damage in some situations. I think that's it, right? I think there's like one situation where he gets more damage, if I recall correctly. Oh yeah, disadvantage on block a little bit less, but that's not super important. So now in V-Trigger, he gets bigger damage combos, and in addition, he has this new V-Skill 2 tire. V-Skill 2 tire. One of the better V-Skills in the game, I would say. It's not the kind of thing that you use constantly, right? This is not a constant go-to V-Skill. But it is still very strong. So in situations where you find EX Abigail Punch, you can then cancel into the V-Skill 2 startup, and that little tire boy just starts coming out. And at some point, it's not going to go by. So you sort of have it, even if you take some damage. So in those situations where EX Abigail Punch mid-screen, you activate it, you're basically safe. Like, nobody punishes you. And now you just get a tire to help you out. You pressure with it. You build mix-ups around it. It's a Marvel assist. You deal more damage from it. It's very strong. If you ever find yourself full screen from the opponent just normally, maybe you can call it out, and maybe like you'll eat a fireball or something, but like nothing super important. And then now here you are with this tire coming at the opponent. Or what's cool too is that you can hit the tire and it will bounce in many different directions, or it will launch at them really fast. Like, there's a lot of depth to your ability to use that and to call out movements from the opponent. Like, if you think that they're going to do certain things, you would like do the down back sweeps that just jets very fast straight at them. Or you could do Crouching Fierce and it goes really high, and then you can do buttons out of that to like hit the tire at them. There's a lot of creativity in that and a lot of utility too, I think. Yeah, if he takes a fireball for that, for calling out a tire, Abigail, who has how much health now? 1,100. He has the most. He's fine with that. No big deal. Menat's better. I really, really like her new V-Skill too. I think that's really good. It gives her more combo routes from a little further, which is really cool. She can use it to create situations. So Menat, there's like two sides of the character, non-V-Trigger and V-Trigger. Non-V-Trigger in season past has not been great at forcing situations. She's a good zoner. She has a 3-frame button, but she has a drill, but she's not like great at like making a comeback. V-Trigger Menat is where the mix-ups happen, and it's where the comebacks happen. She'll still get that. In fact, they buff V-Trigger too, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works now. But at a minimum, she still has V-Trigger 1, which is one of the best. So there's that side of the character still. But V-Skill 2 now allows her to force situations without needing trigger. And they're not the biggest damage situations, but they're at least, it's frame advantage for a character that otherwise has trouble making comebacks and gaining pressure. So for me, I think it's really good. I really, really like how it's built. I mean, look, at the same time, I don't know that you always pick V-Skill 2. I think there's probably matchups where you would want the Reflect, or where you would want the fact that, the V-Skill 1 combos from lights. Like, I think that may still be relevant for sure. But yeah, V-Skill 2 overall, I feel like is really well done for her as a character. So good. In conclusion, I think Menat's good. I felt like I would say that she was like just outside of the top 10. I think that I never thought she was bad. I always thought she remained pretty good, even though she got nerfed in season 4. And it's hard to talk about who's where in terms of numbers because so many characters have shifted around, but I still think that she's strong. A little stronger. Zeku is a better character overall. If you think of him as two characters, then I would have said last season that young Zeku is a top 5 character, maybe top 3, extremely strong. And that old Zeku was maybe more like a mid-tier. And now, young Zeku is a little bit nerfed. Not in super big ways, but a little bit worse. And old Zeku is buffed in a very nice way, in that crouching medium kick now being cancelable and hit confirmable, and being able to start damage. So I think that they've balanced the two characters a little stronger. I still think probably that young is better, but it's really nice that he is a little bit more balanced overall, without being too good either way. And then that V skill 2 I think is super cool. V skill 1 was not the best for him, just allowed switches more easily and stuff, damage. But now he has V skill 2 that allows him to approach more easily. It allows him to zone more easily. It sets up meaty situations. It's got a lot of stuff. I think it's a really, really good V skill. So yeah, I think Zeku, I would have said, was top 10 last season as well, and I still think he's right up there still. He's still one of the best characters in the game. Sakura, I would say that I think she seems better. I don't really feel like she got a ton. So she has better combo routes. She can capitalize better in some situations than before. They tried to buff her V skill 1. I'm not sure it mattered too much because the startup is just so long on the jump. V skill 2, the roll, a bit of a bummer that it doesn't go through stuff, but that's fine. At least you can do it after the charge fireball and sort of set up situations that way. In a way that's better, I feel, than if you do the charge fireball into the hop V skill 1. But I don't know. Was that enough? I'm not sure that that's really enough. I guess we'll see. I never felt that Sakura sucked anyway either. I would have said she was like low mid or low mid. Not one of the worst characters in the game, but needed help absolutely, and she got some help. I would expect her to be on the mid or lower end of things still. Blanka, I feel, was underrated again. Another character I feel was underrated in Season 4. And they buffed his movement a bit, and I really like that V skill too. I love, especially after people in the chat were telling me, I love the usage of it being a farther poke, effectively. Of it basically being, once he charges it up, his farthest poke. That's great, right? It allows him to be a threat from further away, especially because you can combo into Fierce Ball, even if it hits like really far away. So the threat of it's real. It allows him to maintain more pressure up close as well, if that's what he'd rather do. They buffed V-Trigger 1, so hopefully we'll see that a little bit more often. They weren't huge changes to Blanka, but I already thought he was pretty good, and so now I think he's more legit. Definitely. Falke seems really interesting, which is not a sentence that I've ever said before. She got buffed. She has, better combo routes now, which is really nice. She has better... I know I'm forgetting something now. Let's see what we got up here. Because there were some big changes to this character that were really nice. Right, new target combo. That's super good with her V skill too. She has... reduced charge time on firewalls. Yeah, for sure. So better utility in zoning and mid-range control. Better utility in pressure and combos. And all that stuff's great for her. She has a very interesting V skill too that you can use to set up plus frames or to help her zone or to help in combos. There's a lot of utility in that thing. 4-frame punish is interesting. Yeah, so that was a problem for her before and now not as much. So yeah, definitely an improved character for sure. I've been talking about where I think other characters were in Season 4. It's hard for me to say that about Falke because I just saw her so rarely. And I assumed that I saw her so rarely because other people thought that she was weak who would have investigated her and played her if they thought that she was good. So that was my biggest takeaway was nobody plays this character, so maybe she sucks. I don't know. But I just didn't know really. In this season, I expect to see more of her. Cody got buffed. Cody, I would have said, was about low mid, which I think is pretty much what the consensus was. Not one of the best characters in the game. Not like the worst, but on the lower end of things. And they buffed him a bit, so now he gets better combos than before, a little bit better hit confirms than before, I think it was. Yeah. Right. His jumping medium kick is better. They buffed the knife. They gave him level 2 Zonk, which is if you EX it more plus and it causes a wall bounce as well. That stuff's cool. His new V skill seems like it could be interesting, right? You can sort of S dodge through and punish some stuff. You can use it as a way to get through fireballs, which was a problem for him before. It's a buff. I guess I'm not convinced that it makes him a very strong character. Clearly stronger, but very strong, I think, seems like it's going too far. I've seen some people say that, and at least my initial impression is that he's good without being, like, great. G. I think G is a big threat. I think this was a character that I had in top 5 before. I already thought he was one of the best characters in the game. And they buffed him. They made this character better. It's not a big thing, but they gave him a crouching medium kick that can be comboed out of now. I don't really know why. You already could on counter hit. Now you can just normally, and that's all right. Crouching HP, the change here actually is that apparently the anti-air hitbox is a little bit worse, but I've seen some of the best Gs, like Ito and Strider, say that he hasn't actually noticed that it's any different yet. So I guess it can't be some significant change. Look, G didn't need any changes. I kind of expected him to be nerfed a little bit, but instead they buffed him on crouching medium kick and they made V-Trigger 2 a little bit better. And his V-Skill 2, hard to give up that V-Skill 1, right? It's so important for juggles. It allows you to build V-Meter so proactively. It is an anti-air hitbox. Hard to give that thing up, man. But that said, V-Skill 2 I think is good. I'm not sure it'll be the one you pick, to be honest, but it is good. It allows him to take less damage, and maybe there's matchups where that's important. Maybe there's matchups where you want to make sure that you protect your level up, which is another thing that the V-Skill 2 does. I guess we'll see. If you're playing V-Trigger 2, maybe you play V-Skill 2. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe there's a route there. But G, in conclusion, I think is absolutely still one of the best characters in the game. He's so good. Oh man, they didn't nerf V-Trigger 1. I couldn't believe it. Sagat seems better. Like with some of the other characters, I don't think that he seems tremendously better. I would say he seems better in the sense that he can confirm a little bit better into stuff from normals. Some of his normals will combo into things from a little bit further away. His V-Skill 2 seems like it can let him mount pressure a little bit more strongly. So the fact that it makes it so that his Tiger Knees will be plus on block from even like not much of a distance, like just a few steps away. That's good. He's a character who I think had some struggles making comebacks because it's just not really his archetype. He dealt huge damage already. That wasn't the problem. It was more finding the situations where you would find the hit. And now he can do that more easily, so I think that's really nice for him. His V-Trigger 1 getting buffed is cool too. Bigger damage out of that. Huge plus frames. Plus 10 on block? Jeez. Yeah, I think he's improved. I still think that there's matchups where he's going to struggle a lot, but I also think there's a lot of matchups where he's going to be more credible. So if you'd like to play him, I think he's just a lot more viable now. Then you got Kage. Kage is definitely better. He deals more damage. He has an actual way to like get a knockdown from mid-range and get in the sense that Stand Fierce now stands people up. So you can do Stand Fierce, Roundhouse, V-Skill 2, which means that you've gone from half screen into a confirm into point-blank knockdown pressure. So that's something he just didn't have before, and that's great. So I think that's a big improvement for him. Good damage up close. Oh yeah, +2 on EX Fireball now, so he can maintain pressure a little bit better. Right, find a few more plus frames for himself. More damage on some stuff. His V-Skill 2 in Trigger, definitely scarier, right? It allows more combos, movement utilities there. It's definitely good. So I think that character got buffed quite a bit. I felt he was one of the weakest characters in the game, and now I think he's good. I mean, he seems substantially better. I've heard some people say that they think he's the best Shoto now. I do not agree. I think that that's Akuma. But the fact that there's even that conversation is interesting. Interesting. Oh, my bad. It's forward HP that is now the one that stands up. Congrats to Kage. Poison. Poison's a good one. A good character. She already was pretty good, and they buffed her, and they buffed her in some nice ways. She has even a better stand medium kick than before. She has more links than before into bigger damage. She has a legit overhead low mix-up from half screen in EX low or EX overhead. You got to spend bar for both of those, and neither one leads to a ton of damage, but it is a mix-up that probably will exist. Better movement with V-Skill 2, ability to create pressure a little bit more strongly as well. So I think that character is very strong. Absolutely like a character to watch out for in Season 5. E-Honda. E-Honda's been my main ever since he came out in Season 4, and I have thought that he was pretty good. I guess the only person who thinks that is how it seems, and they buffed him, and he, I think, is pretty good still. Okay, I think it's probably the way that I would put it. So I don't think that his changes like shot him up to top tier or anything. I think they make him better without making him great. I would say his V-Skill 2 is very important to him now. So that makes his hands on hit +4, all strengths of regular hands, +4, which means you can combo into stand short, medium headbutt. And any combo, when you do that stuff, is 300 damage plus. It's actually kind of nutty how much damage you deal now in basic combos with Honda. If you have the V-Skill going. On top of that, you can cancel any button into hands, and so his far forward roundhouse, half screen button, now you can cancel that into hands and be +1, pretty close to the opponent right after that, like immediately. So you can sort of bypass neutral, which I think is nice. His jumping neutral fierce is much more controllable in the air than before. It goes forward a lot more than it did before, and that means that he can sort of play this like funky air footsies in a way that's even stronger than before, while also having the complement of having more credibility from his far buttons on the ground due to the V-Skill buff. So I think that he's a lot better. More damage, better footsies, better pressure. He ends up closer up after medium hands now, so he's +1 in range to get command grab now, which he was not before. So yeah, he's definitely stronger. I expect that there's still going to be matchups where he'll struggle. Well, maybe struggles too hard. I don't think he got killed by anybody, but probably Rashid will still beat him. Like characters that are great at making pressure happen and that are really good at mixing up side to side, like he'll probably still lose that stuff. So Lucia seems to me like she's the same, like slightly better. A character who, maybe she was high mid, maybe a little lower than that. Maybe mid. I've heard opinions ranging between mid, low mid, and high tier. And I don't know, somewhere in that range. So pretty good-ish. Her new V-Skill, making it so that she can find a plus frame way to get in, and also making at the worst it's -2 if you just dash in and do it. That's nice, right? That's something she didn't really have before. And she still has the other stuff that she had, basically. I think it's a little surprising that they changed the proximity guard on her fireballs, because I think that was a big part of what she wanted to do, was control you with fireballs by forcing you not to be able to walk backwards. But that is changed, so I think that's unfortunate. I'm surprised that they nerfed her in any sense. V-Trigger 1, a little stronger. None of it's big. None of it's big for Lucia. I think that she's very much the same. She was not one of the best characters in the game, and is mostly the same. Not that she was bad, but nobody would have said that she was top 5 or anything. So whereas a G was, I would say, top tier and is basically the same, or actually buffed a little bit. Whereas Rashid was top tier and now is definitely the best character in the game. Those characters versus Lucia, where she didn't really get the help that I feel like she kind of needed. So, needed is maybe too strong, but she could have used some help, and I think that they didn't quite give her enough of it. My overall feeling about the patch is that it made the game more interesting, right? There's a lot of zany stuff out there, and it's cool. Looking forward to both using it and playing against it, right? Both sides. I think it will be fun. And they made characters who needed some help, they made them a little bit better. They, for the most part, took characters who were the best and slightly nerfed them, right? Karin, Akuma, they're still good. Nerf slightly. Ibuki, right? Some nerfs, no big deal. For the most part, I think that they did a good job of condensing the tiers. I think the big exception to that is Rashid. I don't understand their decision with Rashid. If anything to me stands out the most as being like the biggest like surprise, like what would you do this for? It's giving any buffs to Rashid. I don't understand it. I think he's the best. In season 3, when that came out, Abigail was maybe the best character in the game. He was certainly top 5 because they buffed him too much. And then they nerfed him midway through the season. So they did not wait the entire year. So there's precedent for there to be change mid-season like that. Other than that, I'm really excited to play the game. I think it's overall really, really well done. Very fun, interesting changes, and pretty well balanced for the most part. Alrighty, that's my take.